Welcome, everybody. This is Denny with Why Is This True? And joining me again today is Carl Mollison with teamarkedangel.com. And we're going to do another channeling session with viewer questions for Creator. So thanks, Carl, for joining me. I want to give you an opportunity just to tell everybody about yourself or what you're doing, because some people have not seen these videos before. And this one is going to be a little different. We've got more questions. They're a little bit more pointed than some of the ones that we've addressed in the past. So thanks for joining me, and I give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell people what we're going to be doing today.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for inviting me to participate. I really appreciate this collaboration. I think it's important, and the overarching message is people need to wake up. People need to be informed. There are serious things going on. It isn't pretty, but it's better to know than not know. So let me give you a quick sketch of why I'm here, who I am. I am a channeler. I am a medium. I do a lot of one-on-one healing work, a lot of self-healing facilitation for trauma resolution. And I do a lot of spirit releasement work to remove spirit attachments from people. And in the course of channeling the divine realm, it's been explained very clearly that even back in the days of the Bible, this was what was happening. We were being subjugated by dark spirits and extraterrestrials. And the whole purpose of the scriptures was a whistleblowing compendium of knowledge about these phenomena. Unfortunately, it was heavily edited. Not a lot survives in an intelligible form about these phenomena, but they are in there. So it's still true today. And we find spirit attachments in almost 90% of people, and it has a whole range of consequences. And in some, it does very little. Others are taken down. It can cause severe mental illness. It can cause many types of bodily disturbances, particularly things that can't ever quite be diagnosed, because they can affect nerves and cause them to fire. So it goes on and on. Emotional problems, they interfere with relationships, and they're involved in higher level things. And the extraterrestrials manipulate the dark spirits. They have spirits of their own they send here, the Anunnaki. And so there are several extraterrestrial civilizations conspiring in an actual alliance where they're all working together to subjugate us and manipulate us for somewhat varied reasons. But none of them are good guys. And so this is a real dilemma because so few people know about this. And almost everyone is being suppressed to not look, to not think about these sort of topics, dismiss them out of hand. This must be a crazy person. He's talking about extraterrestrials or he's talking about evil spirits. Obviously this guy's nuts. Well, you can have that belief if you want. But I do this work every day. And for me, it's quite a reality because I bump into these things. I find 4% of my clients have an alien implant in them. That's a lot of people. That's 12 million Americans alone, if you do the math. So this is a huge, huge ongoing issue. And they're manipulating us, and they have through the ages. They've already manipulated our DNA quite heavily. We should be light beings down here in the physical, and we're not. And it's because of these intruders. So there's a lot at stake. There's many gains we can make by pushing them out. And the other dilemma for people is many get trapped on their way back to the light in between incarnations. This is about 1 out of 3 people. And that's a lot of people to get stuck and have a time of difficulty, if not torment. So I do a lot of spirit rescue work, going and rescuing people's loved ones to get them fully to the light. It takes some healing brought to bear to get them in an emotional framework where they can respond to the light callers and then complete their transition. But this is doable, and it's a service that many need, unfortunately. So these are the range of things that I do by and large. And in my channeling, I'm always wanting to learn more about the universe and about life, about the divine realm, and about the problems facing humanity and how to do things better. So I've optimized a healing protocol that I use that applies to all these different applications: spirit rescue, spirit releasement, karmic repair, and divine healing. It's a comprehensive one session process I use all the time for many, many people. And it has some wonderful benefits. And it helps to begin to undo this karmic legacy. We all have a lot of past trauma going back through multiple lifetimes. We haven't always had good tools for healing available. And unfortunately, those wounds don't get repaired, and you have to come back and work on them again. So this is the process that we're all involved in. It's a kind of a learning journey, and it's a healing journey, and it's an enlightenment journey to help move humanity forward. And that is our future. We're going to have a beautiful destiny if we get there. But we've got some opposition, and that can change things. And I hate to be saying these things. So even the idea of being a light worker can become corrupted. And the light workers are heavily attacked with disinformation, primarily, not physically, but with disinformation. So many of the spiritual teachers are heavily programmed to only focus on sweetness and light. They won't talk about anything negative, as though it doesn't matter, as though that would get you into trouble and take you away from the light in some way. Well, if you have a wound, you need to do something immediately. And it's just that simple. And I see this as I go and look at other people's work and ask the light how things are going and what is actually taking place. And I know that channelers are heavily corrupted. Very, very few are actually reaching the beings they think. Most of them are talking to an extraterrestrial psychic, pretending to be a divine agent, like an archangel or God or whoever.
Benevolent ET. A lot of times they're identified as a benevolent ET.
Yes, and many benevolent ETs are really not. They're an imposter. They know how to talk the talk. They know about our spiritual beliefs. They can feed us the pablum over and over again about love and how everything is going to be wonderful and we're going to ascend and this is coming. You don't have to do anything. It's going to be a fantastic new advance. We're all going to be enlightened and we'll be in higher dimensions, and or we're going to have a lot of help to deal with the darkness. And just wait, it's coming, and the powerful, benevolent, advanced civilizations will swoop in and push all the bad guys out. And lots of stories like this. And what I'm told is none of them are true. The good things will happen down the line if we deal with the problem. It's up to humanity. We're not going to have a magic savior. We have to do it. And the way we have to do it is to partner with the divine. We have to return to first principles. Go back to God and say, God help us. Divine One, whatever you want to call it. Source of all it is. Creator of all it is. Come and be a part of our lives. Raise us up. Bring your love in for everyone here, including the interlopers. Raise them up. Open their hearts. And that is what we need to do. And if we all did that, this drama would end tomorrow, because the divine realm is that powerful. We have to choose it, though. So everything that takes us away from partnering with the divine is a ruse. It's a misdirection. It's that simple. And it disempowers people. Just when they think they're learning how to do things. Oh, I can manifest and I can meditate and become enlightened. And I feel so good when I do that. And it's so wonderful. And all these things are true. There are principles that are true and valid, and there are benefits. But it's not going to push out extraterrestrials who want our planet and are willing to do anything to stop us. We need divine help for that. And that's the message that I've been given. So I'm different than almost everyone out there for that reason. So you're going to have to decide, you people out there who are listening and watching, you have to make a decision. I'm not saying give anything up, turn away from things, reject things. Take it all in, but take in my message too. And if you reach out to the divine once a day and say, okay, bring it on, bring some creator love in here and help raise everything up. I'm all for it. Please come and help. That doesn't cost you anything. You can still do that and watch your favorite guru and wait for the ascension or wait for the ETs to come in and we're benevolent and so on. Okay.
Yeah.
But invite God to the party. So that will help. And that's all that's needed from us. We do need to believe. We do need to believe in ourselves. There are some fine points in dealing with the divine realm. So
yeah, one of the more challenging fine points for me has been the really understanding the free will principle and how that works. That's been quite an education, because there's been times when I was first introduced to it, when I kind of felt I had a handle on it, and then through these channeling sessions we've done, I've seen that there's the free will principle is a very profound concept in all of this, and explains a lot of why benevolent ETs aren't in contact with humans, and a whole lot of other things that even come up in the channeling. For instance, we're not going to be receiving information that disrupts our preconceived notions, our beliefs. If we have a strongly held belief, then we're not going to be given information that's going to disrupt that belief. There might be some, like you say, some little areas that are lit up to alert you to the fact that maybe what you believe is not true, but there's nothing going to be overtly stated for the purposes of steering you in the right direction. I hope I said that correctly.
You did, and I think people can't fully appreciate how much we are in charge of things. And this is one example. So someone who is new to this, who goes and asks, why did something happen of the divine? They'll get an answer with a common everyday context, because they don't understand the bigger picture, all the other factors that are involved, the deeper layers, the long sordid history. They won't just come dump that on a person, because that's taking the lead away from them. That's leading them by the nose. They have to grow into it.
Right.
So I've had to grow into the level of knowledge and awareness I've had through years of asking questions. When I first started asking about dark spirits, because I knew about the phenomenon and wanted to learn, I was talking to a channeled archangel at the time through someone else I hadn't channeled at that point. And I was told it's better to not focus on the darkness. I wasn't ready to learn more about what they can do. Right. And fully appreciate how serious and insidious it is.
Right.
They won't just dump that on a person. I could do that as a human, for better or for worse. But that has karmic consequences.
Right.
And they're not allowed to run our lives. They're not allowed to take over, take charge.
Right.
If we ask for something, we might get it. We might not. We might get a part of what we want, but some parts maybe we're not ready for. And when you and I talk, they know other people will come and hear, and it'll be different than what you and I personally might receive as a channeled answer. And then what I ask and I'm told might differ from you and I being present when the question's asked.
It's so important to keep that in mind, and I've forgotten that in a lot of instances, and just went on my merry way without taking that into consideration, and it's caused problems. So it's something I need to constantly remind myself, because it's not really what you'd call a level playing field. It's conditional playing field, and the participants, who they are, what they know, all of that matters. And like you say, the light beings are always interacting with us with a much larger view of the landscape and what we're capable of right now.
Yeah, this is a test. This is a test for us to see if we can stand strong, even when we're subjugated and corrupted relentlessly with mind control and manipulation, culturally, spiritually, and physically. It is a tough test, and the divine realm could tip the balance quite readily by doing some broad announcement from on high to wake everyone up. They have the power to do that, but that short circuits everything, and that disempowers us. Of course, God can do it, but what about us? This is the test of us, to see, can we make it through? We're still getting support. We're getting encouragement. We're getting insight and wisdom imparted from within, but mostly in response to us wondering about things, wanting to have things better, wanting to know more. If we have a spiritual focus in our lives, we'll get more of that. The non-believers close themselves out. So this is why I wouldn't necessarily go to a scientist to be a leader, because they have closed down their connection to the divine, for the most part. Not everyone, but a majority of scientists are secular. They're not spiritual. They're not believers. They're disbelievers, many, and they're proud of it. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get divine participation in the same way a spiritual person might. So this is a different way of operating, and we get to choose. We can choose to do everything 100% on our own, or we can choose to have the divine realm walking alongside us, participating, helping, giving us guidance, giving us healing, giving us protection. I'd rather have the latter.
Yeah.
Why not? It doesn't cost anything.
No, and that becomes pretty abundantly clear that that's the answer to what we're dealing with here. When you start to investigate the dark side, and you see what they are capable of and what they've done, and that, to me, that brings home that issue pretty surely. I mean, to me, there's not much debate that, given my own resources, I'm really not a match for what's been arrayed against me and others like me that are interested in these kind of things. Like you said, there's a lot of focus being put on people who want to expose a lot of these dark machinations, and they'd rather have us shut up. And so they're going to devote some resources to make sure that some of us are shut up. And so what are you going to do? What are you going to do in that situation? You can cry and scream and beat your fists against the wall, or you can ask for some help. And it turns out the help is there. And I've had I've been the direct beneficiary of asking for help, and largely through my relationship with you, that has come about in rather profound ways. Recently, of note for me. So anyway, that's a whole nother show. But so I get, we've got a long session ahead of us. Usually, Carl and I will do maybe 7 or 8 questions in these creator series, and it gets us into like an hour and 20 minutes, somewhere in there. And today we have 15. So we're going to put out a little request to Creator before we start to truncate the answers a little bit if possible in the interest of time, in the interest of us being human and needing to drink water and use the bathroom and those kinds of things. So Carl, I think that was a pretty good introduction. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get into these questions for Creator.
Okay. And let me just add one thing. I can't remember if you mentioned in the recording here that these are questions from viewers like you watching.
Right.
So at intervals, when people write in with comments and want to know certain specific things, we'll gather questions together and have a session like this.
Correct.
And that way everyone can benefit from the process of
Right.
discovery.
Yeah, so these are largely viewer questions or questions that have come up from conversations I've had with viewers. Some of them public, some of them private, some of them have been edited. So a lot of them have been shortened, made more concise when possible. But these are mostly from viewers. That's correct.
Okay, well, I'll just take a minute or so to establish the connection to Creator, set up safety around the work, and to be sure that we have authenticity. And then Creator will announce its presence, and then you're on to ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, nothing will happen. We'll just sit here.
Fair enough.
We're in the lead. We're in charge. Got it. So, the coin of phrase.
Okay.
This is Source Creator speaking.
Thank you for joining us. Is there such a thing as a resistance movement as described by Cobra? And if so, what can you describe about their members and their activities?
There is such a group. This is a group of individuals with privileged knowledge about the inner workings of government and the military collaboration with extraterrestrials. It is a group who understands all is not as it seems, and there are dark doings underway and have been for a considerable period. So they are working from behind the scenes to gather evidence, to help with a disclosure, to undertake a true awakening of humanity, to the risk being taken in trusting the extraterrestrials to have greater and greater control of human society, particularly by the United States of America and its military and intelligence apparatus. They have been in the vanguard here for some time and are the furthest and deepest along in the collaboration that is leading to dark times unless things change.
Thank you. Can you tell us if there are such things as the Yaldaboath entity with toplet plasma bombs and plasma primary anomaly?
These phenomena are a form of disinformation that is being promulgated to mislead. And so there is no truth behind this. It is a type of propaganda that is being put forth. So we would not encourage focus on these issues.
Are entity attachments the result of an individual agreeing to hold a certain perspective of victimhood?
There is a certain coordination of energies. For instance, when people have been weakened through imbibing alcohol or using drugs recreationally, like marijuana, there is a weakening of the auric field, and this allows quite ready entry into the person by outside dark spirits seeking their energy. So these are gateways for spirit attachment. So in addition, the overall weakening through emotional excess that drains a person, through the cultivation of a sense of hopelessness and helplessness, to allow a state of chronic anxiety to the severe level the individual becomes unable to function normally in society. Someone with a severe depression who is in that state of being, all such emotional depths increase vulnerability to spirit attachment. So, this is not strictly speaking a desire or alignment with being attacked, but is a consequence of the general vulnerability. So, we would not see this as the person's doing directly, but do see it as the person's doing indirectly. As you were discussing prior to us coming forth, humans are in charge here in all ways at all times, knowingly or unwittingly, consciously or unconsciously, with the current frame of reference in current life history and experience, or karmically from a long series of prior lifetimes of learning and often suffering in many ways, all contribute in some respect to each moment, and all are influenced by the human collective, as all are interconnected quite directly, energetically, in multiple ways, in multiple levels of the being, the collective unconscious being the most familiar example for people. But there are many levels to energy and perception of energy. Each person radiates an energetic field consisting of their thoughts, and these are perceived by others energetically as a mood state, as a kind of yardstick to assess the safety, the desirability, the potential pleasure in approaching another person or to turn away. And so there is an interplay of forces always. Spirits are out and about in great number and always looking for new victims. So whenever a person projects negativity, it is speaking their language. And they will have a new dark friend approach to do a handshake. And there will be an energetic offering and an interplay with the person on a subconscious level. And if there is an agreement to have a conversation, this may be the person's undoing and invite a spirit in effect, who will then not leave, but invite in its friends. And then there will be a group of interlopers on board, siphoning energy away from the person and making them go into further decline. So these are examples of the ways in which this can come about.
Okay, thank you. Since everything is an expression of creation, is there any point to resisting anything within all that is?
As you well know, the biological world is one of competition for resources in many ways on many levels. You would not pose the question this way with respect to the bacteria and viruses, that if a virus wants to spread through humanity in order to survive, but may kill them, you would not acquiesce and say, well, this is creation at work, and who might I be to pose a difficulty or an objection, and would line up then to be infected and die. So it is not true on any other level either. Nature is normally in balance, and whenever an imbalance occurs, there will be an eventual rebalancing of things. This is what happens through the law of karma, ultimately, if not through the energetics more in the immediate term. And the laws of physics work quite well to keep things predictable and orderly. And the consequences of the interactions with the creation on a physical level are quite certain in most cases and understandable. Beyond that, things become murkier because there are untold layers to the makeup of a person, starting from their very soul and its expression, and then the overlay of all they have experienced. So these are deep, complex questions that deserve much time and care and attention. But you have us on a short leash today. So we will endeavor to hit the highlights as best we can. So the answer we would say categorically is no to this question, because this is an abnegation of the purpose for divine human, which is the experiencing and expressing of the greatest possible reach of consciousness in all ways, in moving forward into many new and glorious undertakings, all of which will have some effect on everything else. And the universe will simply have to make way for the divine human coming forth with new creations, bold adventures, new ideas and concepts, new technologies, and new ways of using the mind than ever before to reshape energy and matter into things that are desired. So if there is energy present in a rock and you wish to transmute that into a dwelling, this will certainly impinge on the rock and change its existence in a dramatic fashion. But the rock will give way to the divine human and will hold no grudge or resentment. But to say that creation existed first and the human needs to tiptoe around it would be a rejection of the divine plan for the fullest possible expression of human desire. So this is with the intention of bringing forth the love of Creator in new ways, not to subvert, not to degrade, not to disrupt, or to lower in any way the potential of anything else, but to reshape and repurpose matter and energy for something different, something often grander. That is not taking advantage or worsening things. There will be a footprint on Gaia from presence of divine human. But keep in mind that Gaia was created and then repurposed to be a nest for divine human. So to say it is wrong to not leave a footprint is a disregard for the value of divine human and Creator's plan to have a full integration with Gaia as the springboard for many new creations. So the message we would give is one of encouragement to go forth boldly and to claim your birthright as divine human, with respect for Gaia, to be sure, because if you foul the nest, there will be consequences, but there can be stewardship to respect all other things in physical reality, not only the life forms, but the land, the sea, the waters, the air, all have consciousness, all have a place, and all have a valuable role to play in the divine balance. This is your challenge and opportunity to make your way boldly, but with wisdom and with care.
Okay, thank you. Did Jim Marrs successfully transition to the light?